And welcome back, friends, to another session of Bhuta Yoga. In today's session, I want to spend just a couple minutes reviewing the principle of the earth element and the principle of sthira. This is how we connect to the grounding force. Asana is a really great tool to develop our connection to the element of earth, to strengthen our capacity to be still, our capacity to feel grounded, our capacity for basically stability, right? If you are aware of the vayus, the downward flowing vayu, remember vayu means wind, these are the prana vayus, these are the directions that the energy flows in the body. The downward flowing force is known as apana. Apana is the down and out. And with our focus on the element of earth, that's the energy, that's the direction of energy that we're cultivating, is this downward and out kind of flow, right? This current. And the connection that we have to gravity and our ability to basically surrender into the structure of our body, that surrender is, in my experience, dependent on our ability to be aligned in our body. And the reason for that is because if the structure of our body is aligned properly, then the weight releases downward naturally. And if that structure is in some way holding tension or misalignment, then that surrender downward doesn't happen completely, you could say. It's there's like a residual tension held somewhere in the body. And so we start with looking at the feet and we work our way up from the literal base of our body and our connection to the earth. And as we address the feet and the ankles and the knees and basically the bones of the lower body, as we start to address their connection to the earth, the literal earth beneath us. And one of the ways that we address that region of the body is through squatting motions, right? And like samasuchi, where we sit on the toes. But as we address those areas of the body and we address the lower portion of the body and start to open up the pathways of energy that flow downward, the body that think of it as a tower, right? And in the last week, we talked about the stack of rocks. If that tower is stacked properly, if those rocks are stacked properly, the weight sinks into the base. And now why that's important is because all of our yoga practices are meant to lead us to a point where we can sit comfortably with steadiness and ease, right? Sthira Sukham Asanam. And that ability to sit steadily in our seat with stillness and ease is what opens the consciousness, the individual consciousness, our individual capacity to be aware, and that awareness can then expand. But if we don't have this ability, or if we haven't cultivated this ability to really surrender downward to gravity, and the apana vayu isn't flowing optimally in the body, you could say, then when we go to sit, there's all these different tensions in the body that prevent us from closing our eyes and expanding our awareness. You follow me so far? And the last thing I'll say before we get into practice, this is really essential to the spiritual progress of the yogic path, because yoga as a spiritual path is exactly that. It's a spiritual path to cultivate and strengthen our connection to that, I like to call it the infinite spaciousness, yeah, or the great mystery, Huakantanka, this spirit that is ineffable. It's all around us. It's in everything and everyone. It's bigger than the mind can conceive, and it's manifesting inside of each one of us. And the path of spirit, or the spiritual path, whether we choose to walk it via the technology of yoga or any other spiritual technology, is one that brings us into contact with that ineffable source, that infinite spaciousness, the vast realm of cosmic consciousness. And if we walk each step intentionally and we build from the foundation up, then the tower doesn't collapse. and we can therefore sustain higher frequencies or higher vibrations, which are vibratory states of our own consciousness that are more like the cosmic consciousness, right? Which is, practically speaking, that's like learning how to live in a state of expansion, in a state of generosity, in a state of abundance, because we are no longer so wrapped up in the contraction of our self-identity, which is exactly that, it's a contraction, but we are more aware of and have cultivated a relationship to that infinite one. So that's what we're doing today, and focusing on the earth element and the downward flowing force. So why don't we go ahead and start with a seated position.